Hey, Chris here. Today I'm going to talk about chronic fatigue and chronic pain. They usually go hand in hand. So I have Addison's disease, I have postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos. We're still waiting to find out the results of what type I have. We know I have hypermobility. We're waiting to see if I have vascular or classical. I have asthma, mast cell. They suspect mitochondrial disease. Basically, I have a couple handfuls of very rare genetic and autoimmune disorders, all which would fall under the umbrella of mitochondrial disease. So basically I was just built with bad building blocks to start with. So chronic pain is pain that persists past normal healing time, so past 3 to 6 months. It's something that is incurable. So everything I have is incurable. There are treatments to treat symptoms, but there is no cure. So with this comes a shortened lifespan. As I get my genetic results back, if I have vascular Ehlers-Danlos, that is dramatically reduced. The average age is 49. I am 39, so that's a little daunting to hear. We are in the midst of the COVID crisis. COVID was somehow miraculously built just to take me out. All the disorders I have would be very drastically impacted by COVID. My chances of making it would be slim to none, which I got to hear again today from another medical professional, which is always interesting. I am currently isolating. So a bunch of the things I have come with them: fatigue, the best way to explain it is like when you're in the pool and you are trying to like walk really fast through that water, but it's slow and heavy and it weighs you down and it's hard to move. That's what chronic fatigue can be like. Some days it'll just kind of hit me out of nowhere. I'll just be walking the dogs and all of a sudden it's like poof, like a wall hits you and it's just heavy. It's the best word for it is it's just very heavy. And I push through and I do everything that I need to do and I do my day, but it's exhausting. And chronic pain is pain that persists past normal healing time, so more than 3 to 6 months. So everything I have has some sort of pain associated with it pretty much. A lot of it is joint pain, and so that can be challenging because joint pain leads to muscle pain. All of it kind of comes together. I have a ton of gastro pain. I just started on a new medication which has been amazing and has really helped with a lot of my gastro issues. So that helps me sleep better. Another thing with fatigue and stuff like that is if you're not sleeping well, you're going to have increased pain. You're going to have increased fatigue, right? So I got diagnosed with sleep apnea, which was amazing because I have a CPAP machine, which is super sexy, but it helps me a lot to be able to cope with waking up through the night, not breathing. It stops that from happening, so I can sleep a lot better and feel a lot better. So my pain started at a very young age, but I thought it was just normal. I thought everybody cried themselves to sleep. I called it settling. I would lay down in my bed and my back would hurt so bad that I would start crying from the pain, but I just thought that was normal. I thought it was normal for kids to roll their ankles pretty much every day. I thought bloating up to look like you were pregnant was normal. I used to go behind the electrical box, those big green electrical boxes at school. I'd go behind there and I would literally pass out at lunchtime in elementary, and then I'd kind of crawl my way. I'd rest against it and I eat my lunch. I was having blood sugar issues. I just didn't know it at the time. I was having syncopes, so passing out. I was having heart rate issues. I would get sweaty and clammy, and basically POTS means that you can't regulate your system properly. And so I was having symptoms as a kid. I didn't know it. I was having symptoms of Ehlers-Danlos as a kid. Again, I didn't know it. So there's a couple ways that I cope with my pain. Exercise being the biggest coping mechanism for me. I fell off of my bike and I fractured my arm and I cut up my elbow and I got a really bad infection, and that is really dangerous for me. Infection can take me out. I'm on 5 different steroids, which weakens my immune system, which is already a pretty shitty immune system to start with. I also fracture incredibly easily. I last winter fractured both my feet. It took a very long time, almost a year to heal. I currently wear ankle-foot orthotics so that I don't fracture them again. I have to be super careful. So I got a trike, which is amazing. And it's a custom one, so it's got like locked in pedals so my feet can't slip off, stuff like that. And I do an hour on that every day. I do an hour of physio stretches because with COVID, I can't currently go to physiotherapy, which is one of the only ways that people with Ehlers-Danlos can actually get some pain relief. Things like acupuncture are incredible. I really miss my acupuncture. But stretching can do a lot. So every day I do about 45 minutes of stretching, and I have 4 amazing puppies who are currently keeping me company. And I take them for about a 45-minute walk as well every day. So exercise is the biggest thing. When I could go to physio, that was something. Swimming is amazing because it's low resistance on my joints. Floating in water is probably the only time I am actually pain-free. I do not take any pain medication whatsoever. I don't even take Tylenol. The most I do is like a topical rub to, loosen up the muscles. Baths are amazing. But most of my pain is actually managed mentally. So I have created, if you want to think Sherlock Holmes in the Mind Palace, I have my own little mind palace where my pain goes. So I did this as a little kid, started, and I don't know exactly how, but I somehow created this spot in my mind where I can put my pain. And as I got older, I started really visualizing it. So for me, it's a beach and there's a chest, like a treasure chest, and I put my pain, physical, emotional, whatever it is, inside that chest, and it stays there until I am ready to deal with it. I have an amazing therapist, and her and I work through past traumas, pain, all those things. It's all kind of sitting in that chest, and that's just kind of where I put all my stuff. For me, that visualization is incredibly important. So people have suggested things like marijuana for coping with pain. So when I have tried things like that, they actually don't work for me. They actually make it a lot worse. Even drinking alcohol, anything that takes me out of my ability to control my mental acuity or whatever, makes it harder for me and actually makes it so I feel my pain instead of not feel my pain. So it is not ideal for me. That's also why I don't take any medications. I'm also super sensitive to medications. So I will have, if there's a 3% chance of having some rare side effect, I will have that rare side effect. Currently I have what's called Raynaud's, and there was a very rare chance of having a side effect from an eye drop that I took, and I had it, so now my Raynaud's is really bugging me. Same with my asthma. So my asthma was triggered by those same eye drops. I went down 60 points on my peak flow, which is pretty significant. So I have to be really careful about what I put into my body. Breathing is another thing that is an incredible resource when it comes to pain. When I was giving birth to my babies, I used breathing as my pain control technique. I did use a little bit of laughing gas at the time, which is an interesting drug. But when it came to the actual pushing and all that stuff, it was just me and breathing. I breathe through most of my pain. Pain isn't really that, you can get used to it. You can get used to any pain. It's when there's new pain. So chronic pain, if I were to check into my body, right now my knees are killing me. I have braces for my knees, which help a lot. But mostly I have to control that mentally so that I'm not checking in to all that. But I do have pain all the time. It's when a new pain comes. that it's a little bit harder, and I have to use things like breathing, and I have to very consciously check into that. Something that I do every day is I thank my body for the good things that it does. There's a lot that's broken down in my body. There's probably more that's broken down than that works properly. I have the joints, and basically I have a 65-year-old body, maybe even older. I was told I have the uterus of a 50-year-old. I was like, thank you so much. And that was when I was 35. A lot of it comes down to just things like attitude. I decided a very long time ago that I wasn't going anywhere. And every single day I could die. So with Addison's disease, if I were to fall down the stairs and hit my head and become unconscious, I won't produce the cortisol that you would produce to deal with that emergency. Without that cortisol being produced, I would go into what's called an Addisonian crisis, and I would slip into a coma, and my organs would start shutting down, and I would die. So any day, throwing up, becoming unconscious, diarrhea, anything where those drugs come out of my body and I need them, the cortisol, is deadly to me. If I turn out to have vascular Ehlers-Danlos, any bleeding emergency, and I do also have a bleeding condition, any bleeding emergency could be life-threatening. I could bleed out internally. My bowels could rupture. My arteries could rupture at any point in time, and that's why the age of death is so young. But yeah, the biggest things with chronic pain and chronic fatigue are, for me, and not for everybody, some people definitely need pain medication, and I won't say that I won't ever take it because I may need it at some point in time. But for me, exercise, diet, eating really healthy, eating a lot of fresh stuff, having that visualization, that memory palace for me, getting good sleep, and then attitude. Those are the biggest things to be able to push through. Thanks for listening.